But yeah, it's a very mysterious thing. Music. God, Nietzsche had this quote that goes, "Life without music would be a mistake."
Ooh, that's a
I
good
mean,
one.
Nietzsche, like, you've got some somber, depressed fuck as Nietzsche. He liked music.
What kind of music did you like?
He was a big fan of Wagner, Richard Wagner, who was a composer, I think, from Germany at the time. And then he kind of broke up with him in some ways. I think it was also Nietzsche. He was too intelligent for his own good.
What what happened with him? So he had that like
Uh,
nervous breakdown, right? When he was like 44.
yeah, yeah, 44. The ripe old age of is the early 40s.
Like how did that happen? Like what led to that? Like what
I don't know the exact causation behind his descent into madness, but he did spend the last X amount of years descending into madness. He died insane. He tried to rescue a horse from being flogged out in the middle of some street, and that, like, I think they caught him and they thought he was like a crazy person. Well, I think he was at the time, insane at
so
that
how does a brilliant
point.
mind like that? How does it go mad?
He, well, a level of intelligence like that only comes around. Well, you think about all of the people who have ever lived, ever, and then you think of how many Nietzsches there were. One. How rare is that? And so there might be some connection between his level of intelligence and, well, I think there is a connection between his level of intelligence and his ability to connect with the world and kind of be happy. I think he really struggled to be happy. His love life was kind of strange. He grew up in an all-female household, if I remember correctly. I'm not an expert on the biography of Nietzsche, really. I'm not,
Mhm.
but I only know some surface level trivia facts. But I think he was just too smart for his own britches, too smart for his own intelligence. But the things that he wrote are very, very valuable to consider and to ponder and to expose yourself to, because I think it's a really good thing to expose yourself to the thinking of somebody who is one in a trillion. Because how many other times is a Nietzsche going to be born? Probably never. But when you become so intelligent as Nietzsche was, it's very difficult to relate to the world, and it's very difficult for the world to relate to you. And so he might have had a problem or many problems kind of keeping himself psychologically fortified and happy. I don't know if happy is even the right word, but
Yeah.
he was very he was a sad case, Nietzsche. He really was. But that's kind of what happens. Like, because there's a little bit of a danger, I think, to glorifying uber intelligent people. Like, man, if only I had an IQ of 200. Well,
There's a danger in glorifying really
there's
intelligent people like
I
that.
think there's a danger in glorifying uber intelligent people, because you might think, well, my life would be so much better if I had an IQ of 200 or if I was as smart and brilliant as Nietzsche. Okay, well, then it's going to be very, very difficult for you to relate emotionally with other people. Whether or not EQ is a thing that exists, we don't have to get into that debate right now, but it is going to be very difficult for you to empathize and to kind of stay still and to not want to kill yourself. And to, because highly intelligent people, it's very easy for them to perceive what the world could be if everybody else tried to be like Nietzsche had the idea of a Superman, right? The transcendent morality. If you could transcend all morals, you'd be able to accomplish anything you want in your life. That is sort of an example of the danger of being so intelligent. Like, oh man, the world would be so much better if everybody kind of stopped doing all of these banal things and distracting themselves with memes and social media and Twitter. Nietzsche would probably find it a lot harder to survive today because he'd have a lot more of a reason to be kind of, I don't want to call him a cynic. I don't think he was cynical,
Mhm.
but intelligent people, highly, highly intelligent people, like 0.001% of the entire population, it's very difficult for them to not see things in such a way. Like, living itself is painful because look at all these normies going about their normie life, not trying to do intellectual things and furthering the progress of humanity, or doing things that are more intellectually and spiritually more meaningful. That can kind of weigh down on highly intellectual people's level of happiness. And what are we supposed to do with that? I'm not sure, but there is a danger into thinking that highly intelligent people just have it all figured out for themselves. It can be a very unhappy existence. And so I don't think it's really all that appropriate to say like, oh, the common everyday person who isn't reading Nietzsche is like, I'm above that. Or, you work as a janitor, you don't know anything. You're useless just because you don't read all these pompous books. There's everybody has value. Human life is such a precious and sacred thing. Just because you're not reading Nietzsche, you're not some uber pompous academic intellectual, doesn't mean that you don't have anything valuable for other people. There's a difference between wisdom and intelligence. I used to work at a grocery store, and I met some very wise and humble people who were good to listen to, and that gave me some pretty good advice. And it didn't come from Friedrich Nietzsche. I just like reading Nietzsche because I like kind of realizing how dumb I am, and that's why I read books. And like, oh, look at this
Do you
intelligent person.